You got to love it here in the city. Our heart beats stronger.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go! Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip, presented by From Financial. After a game that just got me, I can't wipe this grin off my face after I just witnessed what we just witnessed. What a bounce back performance from Saturday's game with an absolute masterpiece against a potential first round opponent. Before we get into it, Mikey, how you doing tonight?
How can you not be doing good after that game? This was the one I was worried about. So, Lizzie Water Soup is wondering why people were really worried about the Blues after that game. And man, I look silly because this was the one I was worried about. The Jets came out and just put the Blues down tonight. That was incredible. I'm buzzing.
But hey, let's buzz together. You know how this show starts after a win. Let's get that sweet victory music after franchise record 53 wins and one step closer to a Central Division banner, one step closer to a President's Trophy.
Let's see
DJ, hit that shit. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Unreal is right. Glazy Water Soup says there's some connectivity issues. So if anyone else is experiencing that, let us know and we'll try and get that fixed up. D-Lab says it's working for him right now, but we'll see where this goes. Thanks for a heads up, Glazy Water Soup, who jumps on that point you made early with people were really worried about the Blues with a bunch of crying faces, classic hot hand fallacy. And I got to say, I feel a lot better about a potential St. Louis Blues matchup after the Jets absolutely paddle a team coming in off a 12-game winning streak. One of the hottest offensive teams in the league, and with like 4 minutes left, there's 13 shots against. Absolutely incredible effort from the Winnipeg Jets today. Mikey, what is your big takeaway?
That this is a team that's better than I think we even kind of realized. You're missing some real key pieces offensively. You're missing key pieces on the defense. You've got the hottest team in the National Hockey League coming in. And, to see them go out and absolutely enforce their game. And even when the Blues pushed back, because there was a lot of pushback from the Blues were a good hockey team. This wasn't a 7-0 type of game. But the Jets were they were the better group beginning to end, for the most part. And it was real impressive to see them do it so shorthanded, missing so many guys, and to squeeze this one out, get the win, and really start to put now the distance between us and Dallas. This was a big win, man. This was huge.
I see Formerly, nice to see Formerly in the chat, who says it was the first full game he's gone to watch in a while. And he goes a point that me and him get to all the time, and we'll dive into that shortly. Who agrees with you, saying St. Louis did not give a minute in this game. And this was a tight-knit playoff type game. And the Winnipeg Jets were absolutely dialed in every facet. I didn't feel for a minute, even when they tied this hockey game, I didn't feel for a second the Winnipeg Jets were going to lose this game on this night. Right from the first couple of shifts, all the way on through. It was just a dominating effort. We talked recently, I think it was the LA game was where it came up, and it came up again in the Utah game with the poor puck management kind of feeding into what they were able to generate the other way. I thought the Winnipeg Jets were the team that was on the positive side of puck management all night in this one. They were crisp. They were very, very good at jumping in and stripping the opportunity away from St. Louis in the neutral zone, which is where Formerly goes. We always talk about Formerly's comment is, I know Nick and I agree about the neutral zone dominance. That was super apparent tonight. We could add the middle of the ice in the D zone. And I like where Formerly goes there. This was a game where in the neutral zone, the Jets were stopping up everything and turning it back the other way, which is a very big key for this team's system and how this all works and starts rolling over on each other. And I thought they were flawless in that regard tonight. There was very little opportunities when St. Louis was a bit off that the Jets didn't jump all over it and take it the other way. There was a few times I know I went with my brother Jarrett today, who was in town from Brandon, and he was even talking about one of his comments towards the end of the game was, I don't think I've been in person to see an effort quite like this, where it just felt like even when they turned it over, they were on that guy and turning it back the other way, where they were stepping up on every play in the neutral zone, where even when St. Louis established time in the O zone, did Hellebuck face one, maybe two good chances today? The Winnipeg Jets kept St. Louis to the outside virtually all night in this one. That was a playoff level performance. That was a defensive gem and some nice efforts to put the team on the board. I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing for what we just watched.
Yeah, the Jets were absolutely dominating the offensive side of things. You know, the shot clock ends up looking a little bit better for St. Louis than even what it could have been, right? The shot attempts in this game were just absolutely off the charts. So that's exactly what you want to see from this type of group when we're breathing down the neck of the playoffs, right? They're honed in right now.
And I gotta say, our boy Mose just got me cheesed up now. I'll get to his comment in a second. Was not expecting that. This was a great example, and we've seen it a lot this year. There shouldn't be any surprises at this point. 53 wins, first place from game one to now game, what was that, 78?
78.
We've seen this team at their peak a lot, and what I love again in this one, they stuck to their system and kept playing their game all the way through it, despite some potentially early frustrations. Because to St. Louis's credit, I thought St. Louis for the first half of this game, despite the dominance in zone time and puck possession, I thought St. Louis actually did a really good job on their behalf of keeping the Winnipeg Jets to the outside as well. You saw early on in this game, the Jets were a lot of their shots that were getting through were kind of point shots, looking for tips, or walking off the line, right? Not the highest quality of looks, but they stuck to that system. They kept grinding the Blues down, and eventually starts with a heroic one-man effort after that chip from Josh Morrissey from Morgan Barron, who continues to impress down the middle at center. Uses that size, uses that speed to outmuscle the St. Louis Blues defender, and then snipes on the breakaway. And then the first line, and this is funny too. I love this. Jarrett was really into this one, and we were talking a lot about what was going on. And 2 seconds before Alex Iafallo, once again, Johnny on the spot for that unit, buries that goal off that Kyle Connor look, which hell of a job from Kyle Connor to take that Booch errant pass and just drive that net when they had some space. Right before that, he had that great look short side shoulder as well. Jarrett turned to me. He's like, these guys need to fucking do something. They need to get on the board. 2 seconds later, Alex Iafallo puts it in, and then they get another great look their next shift. And then Adam Lowry, after I thought we were going to experience a bit of a Patrick Steffen moment after Appleton goes dead bar on the empty net.
God.
Adam Lowry makes sure to put this to bed from Mark Scheifele, who, again, I think we're seeing Mark Scheifele peaking at the right time, which is a huge, huge thing for this team. We talked about it a few weeks ago with Rat River Rebel and me and your debate about needing Mark Scheifele to play at a Conn Smythe level for this team to keep going. This is the Mark Scheifele the Winnipeg Jets need. I'm seeing a player that's in all three facets really engaged. And when Mark Scheifele is engaged, Mark Scheifele can be a real difference maker. This was another night I really liked Mark Scheifele's game.
Offensive game was great from Scheifele tonight. How do you feel about, I've noticed this on social media and also from Glizzy Water Soup here in the chat. Buchnevich was Scheifele's guy on that goal. Did you see it that way? Was it Scheifele that lost his man there? Because I've seen that quite a bit on social.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair to put that on him, but that play does have two other breakdowns. Ifoul loses that board battle to Broberg, and Broberg keeps the momentum going, which forces Shen to make a decision between Broberg and Robert Thomas. And I'm a big Robert Thomas guy. That might be the best young playmaker in the NHL.
Ooh.
Probably not the guy you want to evade from.
Yep.
So as much as Scheif needs to be on Buchnevich, there was those two breakdowns right before it that I don't want to single him out on that play.
Yep.
Shen gets caught creeping up to Broberg, which gives Robert Thomas all the time in the world. And if you give that guy time, he's going to find the open guy. Robert Thomas is that level of a player.
Yeah.
So as much as that is Scheif's guy, I do think those other two breakdowns and just the way the sport works, that it's hard to just pin it on Mark Scheifele because those other two breakdowns create that 2-on-1 out of the corner that lead to that play.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the comment that caught me off guard, our boy Mo, thank you, Mo. Normally only listen to you guys on my phone, watching y'all tonight on my big screen. And damn, I might be drunk, but Nick, you're absolutely looking pretty good tonight, buddy.
There we go.
Tanev is an absolute maniac, and I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty handsome. Got the Howard Chuck Strong hat tonight. Shout out AJ for the gift. Who, when he saw Eric Howardchuk kind of putting these posts out, getting ready for the launch, he reached out and said, with the situation you're going in, I want to kind of give you a hat and make you feel like a part of that. So love that. Feeling pretty confident about myself right now.
Hell yeah.
But you got to say the Winnipeg Jets were looking confident about themselves. I see Rye Guy asked, did any line even lose their matchups in this one? And by the numbers, not a single line did. I think the only line that really had their struggles in this one was the Nemestikov, Perfetti, Nino line. It took them a bit of a while to get going in this one. But the top line looked great. Lowry's line, that was the type of performance you want to see from a real big bounce back from last game with Tanev on there. As our boy Mo says, Tanev's a maniac. And I'll say this, being at the rink, the barn was rocking again. You could feel that this city knows what's about to come, what's on the line, where this is all going. Every single time that guy does something, it absolutely brings the best out of the Winnipeg Jets faithful in-house. He blocks a shot. It's the loudest thing I've ever heard in the building. He throws a hit. It's one of the loudest moments of the building. It is safe to say that he is an absolute buzzsaw when it comes to energy. And then the fourth line, we see Gus get back in with JAD. And I thought Gus is one of those guys for me. I make no bones about it. I just love the simplicity in Gus's game. Morgan Barron continues to build on what's been a real solid transition to the middle, using that speed, using that big body, using that frame. And that was a guy that looked like he was buzzing with confidence again today. We're really seeing a step there. And I thought this was a good night from JAD. So right down the lineup, you get performances across the board. On the defensive side, it's like, did any line even play that much in their own zone in this one? You saw great efforts like DeMello back to the DeMello that's breaking up plays before it enters the zone. There was one shift from him. The puck movement was a little tough and it almost cost him, but we saw the DeMello that steps up and makes the play and sends it the other way. We saw Sandberg and Shen doing the same. Just up and down the lineup tonight, you got to be happy about this performance. Connor Hellebuyck ties his own record for 44 wins as a franchise goalie in Winnipeg, and it was another easy night for Connor Hellebuyck on this night.
Yeah, this was I don't know if he broke a sweat. I forgot he was in net a couple times. I think he had one big save that he had to make that formerly points out. There was a cross pass to Buchnevich that, he just paddled away, so it was fine in the end. It was, this was incredible. As Rob Somerville pointed out, right, and kind of mirroring what our friend Mo says about Tanev being just an incredible beast on the ice, all three zones. You got performances up and down the lineup. You had the one line, like you said, that was a little bit of a struggle for them tonight, right? Took them a little while to find their feet, but that's going to happen in some of these matchups. So I'm not too worried about that, the way that it worked out with everybody else. Just, it feels special.
Yeah, it does right now. It feels like, and it was, I was thinking about this actually. Glizzy Water Soup had me thinking at the game today when it was 1-1 going into the third. And him pointing out the Jets haven't lost two back-to-back games in regulation since late January.
Beginning of January.
beginning of January had me feeling even more comfortable than I was in that one. Like at no point did that game ever feel like St. Louis even belonged in it. And I was thinking about that stat. So shout out to Glizzy Water Soup for that stat, because he had me thinking in arena about it, and it made that third period even more comfortable. Also points out a couple rum and cokes, and Nik goes from a 6 to a 10A, and our boy Mo thinks so, and that's all that matters. And Rye guy hyping me up with a bit of bullshit with Nik is absolutely a Winnipeg 10. I appreciate it. You're feeding the ego kink here. I love that from our audience.
And as Cody Magnuson says over on YouTube, every game the past few weeks where the takeaway was that was a playoff style game has been a win. Anytime we've had a game where it's been a tight, close game against a top opponent where it's, it feels like you're watching a playoff game, the Jets have come away in those games with a W. So that's another thing to just feel good about going into this last stretch.
Yes, this team has made it a habit this year. There's no denying it. Forget the history. This team rises up for the big nights, and they did so today, again, without Nick Ehlers in the lineup, without Gabe Vilardi, with Neil Pionk right around the corner here. Now, St. Louis doesn't have Binner in net, and they're missing Parayko and Holloway, but I'm taking Winnipeg's trio over those three in terms of potential impact.
Yep.
And it did not matter.
No. Hofer's been great on this run. He's been 5-0 during their run here. He's 2-0 against Winnipeg. So it's not even like there was a huge downgrade there. I don't think it would have mattered. The Jets they were locked in tonight. They were coming away with that W. They wanted it.
Formerly wants to bring me down a notch, saying we need a poll on the rum versus points in the future, and I don't know if I want to see those results. I got to take the good here. I got to take the good and run with it. Slick McGuire says he is freaking buzzing for next week. It's feeling special right now. And Slick, I'm buzzing for you to be down here. I'm very excited for you to get the full Winnipeg Jets experience coming over the ocean to come be a part of this run. And I gotta say, it was pretty cool. There was a kid in house today that had a sign, G''Day from Australia. Came from Australia to watch the Jets in house tonight.
That's cool.
I'm just my head's all bouncing over the place here. Doug Henderson, who I just got to watch the game with. Doug Henderson, my season seat neighbor. Our defensive system was top notch. Arnie for Jack Adams. Do we think Scott Arniel is going to come out of this season potentially the President's Trophy winner, and potentially the Jack Adams nominee or winner?
So a nominee for sure, right? With no question about that. He's going to be on that in the top 3, no question. The thing is, will he end up winning it? If you've got a Vezina winning goaltender, a President's Trophy winning team, that's hard to say. That's hard to say no, you're not going to give it to that coach. A lot of times those things kind of go hand in hand. Is he the very best coach in the league? Probably not. I'm going to be honest, right? Don't come for me too hard on that one. No, he's probably not. But will he get the votes to win? Man, if the Jets go on and win the President's Trophy and you've got some more dominant wins to finish off the regular season, you never know. I could see it happening.
Lucas Trapp says he no longer has an excuse not to come from Kitchener now. So get on down here, Lucas. I don't think I think the top he can come is second. Spencer Carberry is going to run away with the voting, I believe, in this one.
Yeah.
But on Scott Arniel's behalf, like, hell of a statement after how his first tenure went a decade ago to take a team that was 110 points, had the system installed, and finding ways to elevate it more, especially with the special teams throughout the year. It's a hell of a showing. It's a hell of a showing.
Ooh, so T. Konopoli asks, did Ovi lead the Caps turnaround the season or Carberry? I wonder how much credit and attention Ovi gets breaking the record and everything this year, and maybe that does take some of the shine off of Carberry when the votes come out. What do you think?
Not a chance.
No?
Not a chance. They were a wild card team this year fighting for a President's Trophy.
Yeah.
I mean, the credit really goes to that management team, who I do think, if you pay attention to the NHL past just Winnipeg, owners don't want to go through a rebuild. And I think Washington's success is going to have a lot of teams trying to mimic what they did. And I just don't see it being possible for as many teams that are going to try to pull that off. They hit on every bet they made last summer to keep things on the rise.
And yeah, as Ry Guy points out, Jets were a top 5 team in points last year. Didn't undergo as many changes, so that does take a lot of it off. But hey, you never know. Like I said, first time winning a Prez Trophy, Hellebuck winning a Vezina. Crazy things have happened.
And you know what they say about the old Coach of the Year award?
Yes, sir.
Show me a good coach. I'll show you a good goalie. So there's some key points for you. I'll hear you out on that one. Going back to choices, TK, who always starts this show with a banger of his thoughts, and I want to get there. Big win in a meat grinder of a game, and this truly was a playoff type atmosphere for both teams in the crowd. We know the stakes, both teams jockeying for playoff position, a potential first round opponent, and it had that feel tonight on this Monday night. Against a good Blues team, puts in brackets, they look better than the Stars, and we're going to get into the Stars matchup towards the end of this show.
Yep.
I'm excited for what we're going to see on Thursday.
Oh, baby.
It's nice to get a bit of breathing room going in, but I'm not worried about it. I feel good about this week's game against the Stars. Also points out just a game of constant forecheck and puck retrievals. Nice to see this team win a style of a game, especially with the players missing. Also, where would this team be without a player like IFL to move up around this lineup? And IFL just continues to impress, hands down. Only concern is that even when this team has periods of dominance, they have trouble converting it on the scoreboard. Just, my God, Appleton, you got to put that in the net. What's your takeaways from what choices brought to us early in this show?
So, first of all, the easy one real quick. God damn it, Appleton. Sometimes, man. Sometimes you just got to put that in. My guy, what happened? What happened? Oh, and I was worried, yeah, like you said, we were going to get the Patrick Stepan moment and have that come all the way back. So it was nice to see Lowry just do it himself on the empty netter finally. With AI, it's interesting. If I don't think we're seeing Gabe Vilardi back for the beginning of the playoffs. Maybe that, some of the comments
Pretty
today.
good update today.
Yeah, comments today maybe start to change that, but I'm still thinking it's probably not for the start of the playoffs. But if it is, are you dropping him right back onto that line, or are you leaving Alex Iafallo in that spot? What is Nick doing? Not what Scott Arniel's doing, but what would Nick be doing?
I want to see Vilardi with the Ehlers, so I'd be totally fine keeping Iafallo there if it meant Vilardi plays on a wing with the Ehlers, honestly.
Right?
Gives you some options.
It's interesting.
Gives you some options.
I don't think it'll happen, right? If Gabe Vilardi does come back for the playoffs, you can pen, paint, whatever the permanent marker him in right back onto that spot on the top line. But it is interesting that it would give you a little bit more flexibility in the middle of the lineup to really spread out the offense and create some interesting matchups going into the playoffs. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
All right, I'm going to use Choice's comment to talk about the upcoming Dallas game a little bit here, because if the Winnipeg Jets play like this on Thursday, I love their chances. Absolutely love their chances. They just stifled the hottest offensive team, but it was the forecheck, the constant forecheck and puck retrievals aspect of it. I thought the Jets were on the ball as far as that neutral zone, like we talked about with formerly earlier in this show, and then turning that play over and dumping it and getting in on those D. Despite what I thought St. Louis handling the in zone D coverage pretty well for half of this game until Winnipeg was able to wear them down, break them down, and start getting into that slot. The one aspect that I think St. Louis mirrors Dallas a little bit here, and we've talked about it on this show, especially with Heiskanen gone. Outside of Thomas Harley, that D-core has trouble moving the puck. And if Winnipeg's forecheck and pressure game looks anything like it did tonight, I think you're going to see it pay off in spades with that hampered Dallas D-core. It's not a great group. Since February 1, they have one pair that's winning the shot attempts duels, and it's the Liam Bichel pair. Thomas Harley's pair is even getting hemmed pretty bad. That team's finally slept. They finally had their 2 games come back to bite them on the weekend. And if the Winnipeg Jets continue this process going, I think they're going to feed into it further on Thursday. I really do.
Yeah, I like the matchup with Dallas. Especially in this game, right? We got to see what the forecheck looks like when it's really effective. We got to see what the breakouts look like when they're really effective. And if you're going to be able to, fingers crossed, add Nikolai Ehlers back into the lineup for that game and add that dimension of speed again, right? You're going to be if you bring this form and you can bring that back into it, yeah, I'm not worried about that Dallas game. This was the one I was more worried about, and the Jets showed that with their system, doesn't matter. They'll still be able to grind you down. They went real early going low to high, right, looking for that shot over and over again, and you could see they were just tiring them out, and it worked. And I can't wait to see what that's going to look like on Thursday.
And like Caitlin plays into my point over on YouTube. They have Labushkin on the first pair. They're cooked without Heiskanen. And we talked about at the deadline when they traded for that Granlund, and who came over with Granlund in that deal? CC deal. I was pretty stoked that that's how Dallas used their bullets. That right side has what? Cody Ceci, Ilya Labushkin, and I forget the third name at this point, Matt Dumba.
Yep.
That is the type of decor that this team could pounce all over and send a message going into the playoffs, put the division out of reach on Thursday, and send a big statement, even as big as this one, which I talked about Friday potentially versus Vegas potentially being the best game they've played.
Yep.
This one puts them right into that category. I fear Vegas a lot more than St. Louis, but just this was such a masterpiece from minute one on, and they stuck to it. They barely let anything against. They rolled their groups in the ozone. If they could roll this into Thursday's game, take the Winnipeg Jets, baby. Take the Winnipeg Jets versus Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. This one you can maybe argue is more impressive. Again, they were missing another big piece that they weren't missing in the game against Vegas. And this one is the Central Division, right? These are the guys, again, breathing down your neck. You're not expecting St. Louis to catch you because you're already kind of out of their reach, but just how hot they've been. And with Dallas just right there, this was their opportunity, and they're showing that they capitalize on these big opportunities. So, yeah, I can't wait.
Jumping over to the Twitch thread a little bit here as I was over on YouTube. Zooch40 says, when Gabe back, could we see Ehlers, Lowry, Gabe? Gabe and Lowry play style likely fits, but in a different way than Ehlers and Lowry meshes. Something I'd love to see. You're speaking my mind here, Zooch. On the Dallas matchup, Glizzy Water Soup points out the Stars have the second worst expected goals percentage in the league in the last 10 games. They are dog shit without Heiskanen. And that was what was so frustrating about this run until this weekend, is if you tuned into Dallas Stars game, you watched the team get absolutely hemmed for like 40 out of 60 minutes. They'd create their looks and they'd put a couple shifts together, but they were playing on their heels so much. They remind me this stretch from Dallas, and I'm used to being the doomsday Winnipeg guy. What I'm seeing from Dallas down this stretch is what you saw from the Winnipeg Jets from like 2019, 2020 until Bones came in. That is what the Dallas Stars look like right now. And I called the Jets frauds at the time for it. Dallas is fraudulent right now. Jump all over them on Thursday.
Yeah, and I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but man, Mark Scheifele loves to feast on the Dallas Stars. So, with the big game, the division on the line, everybody watching, I'm predicting a big one for Scheifele on Thursday night.
Cody Magnuson also points out if Van beats Dallas tomorrow, then Thursday's game we can clinch the West. And this is a big week. It's a big week for the Jets. It's a big week for my Blue Jays getting Vladdy locked up. I got to say, I'm not used to the vibes around the Winnipeg Jets and the Toronto Blue Jays being this high in an early April. I'm as a sports guy, this has been a dream 24 hours for me.
Huge. Absolutely huge 24 hours.
Huge. I don't have to quit baseball for a decade.
Right? Oh, my God.
I don't have to see Vlad Mash in Boston.
Oh, can you imagine how heartbreaking that would have been?
I get to watch the Winnipeg Jets build up to a playoff run that even I'm believing in right now. And I know I'm part of the doomsday cult sometimes, as in Ehlers We Trust calls it. What we're seeing from this team as we've consistently built, and I talked about it 2 or 3 shows ago, despite how close this race was getting, Winnipeg deserved a lot of credit for really rounding out their defensive game to gear up for this playoff run.
Yeah.
And that was just a masterpiece. I'm just thrilled right now.
Yeah, it's not just the wins, right? You can be getting wins against soft opponents. You could be getting wins on lucky bounces and things like that. But it's the way that they're playing, the way that they're getting those wins, and even in some of the losses, it's the consistency that they're sticking to their system, right? And we've seen that this system works, especially when they can get everybody, healthy. So, Yeah, this is the time to be optimistic. This is the time to kind of buy in because, man, it's fun to be a Winnipeg Jets fan right now.
I want to touch on one last point because it ties into this recent conversation on what to do with Velarde when he gets back. Brian over on Twitch points out 81, 55, and 9 is going to be north of 60% expected goal share in this run since Velarde's injury after this game. And I got to say, today was the game that I stopped calling for Perfetti to go there. Fallow continues to do the thing. Really good showing. If they can continue, we know how great Ehlers and Velarde have played together in the past. It's exciting to think about, and it is. It is very exciting to think about.
Absolutely. It would be great to see Ehlers, Lowry, and Velarde on a line together. However you want to cut it. I know. I want it though.
As we go into the From Financial Face-Off here, we want to hear from you in the chat. What do you think was the tipping the scales in this one? What was maybe missing from this game? What did the Jets do really well? What stood out to you in this game? Me and Mikey are going to dive into ours, but I want to point out Tico Napoli, who's buzzing on the microdoses right now, which big time respect, buddy. If only there was something to do on Thursday night. The landing strip presented by From Financial is pumped for the watch party Thursday night. Given the reaction, I think we're going to have a full house in that lounge, which is exciting as long as everybody that says they're coming shows up. I'm excited to get there and watch with all of you. Let's enjoy a big one Thursday, and let's get into the From Financial Face-Off.
Right on.
Mikey, as usual, I'll throw it your way. What was your From Financial Face-Off in this one?
So I had a couple things I was kind of going back and forth on, but I think I decided to, I'm settling on the penalty kill. They had a real good showing again tonight after a rough game last game there with the two penalty kill goals against, right? This one, they finally bounced back. I think overall they're now 6 for 8 in their last few games. They're starting to come back around. They've got them pulled back to about mid-standing in the NHL because they were starting to trend downwards towards the bottom. And if you can have a number 1 or number 2 power play and a just mid-range to upper mid-range penalty kill, it's something that's we haven't seen in the past, right? And if they keep this upward trajectory going, it's going to be a big piece. So that was my From Financial Face-Off tonight, was the penalty kill.
This is a joke of a From Financial Face-Off for me, but formally says we're going to have to go back to your post-deadline show for receipts, and we might. And I told you, I want to hear it. Give it to me if it ages poorly. My From Financial Face-Off, and I see Zooch 40 beats me to it. So I'm going to just read out Zooch 40's because he went exactly where I was going. Great minds think alike or something like that. So I'm going to put us both on a pedestal here. Zooch 40 says the From Financial Face-Off was stepping up that full fucking team defense to limit St. Louis, who was on a 12-game heater to only 15 shots. Just a masterpiece of shutting down one of the hottest offensive teams since Christmas. They never felt dangerous at all. That, for me, after a real rough downer of a performance Saturday, to bounce back in this one and do that, incredible. Incredible.
Rye Guy points out that there were 18 blocked shots from the Jets, and I'm pretty sure 17 of them were Brandon Tanev. So yeah, it was absolutely incredible to limit them to such a limited amount of shots, and the shots that they did get through weren't dangerous. Hellebuck was able to see those shots. He was able to make those stops really easily. This was everything that you wanted out of that group.
I see Brian over on Twitch says the shitty part of Thursday night is I have a final exam Friday, and D-Labs is doing the marketing for us. You'll have other exams. You won't have other first-time watch party with these guys. And we got some fun surprises for those in house too. So I'm looking forward to it. But let's get into some of the From Financial Face-Offs. Rye Guy on Twitch says there was no easy chances at offense from both sides, and it really did feel like that, especially through 30 minutes. It was one of those games, both teams were defending excellent, and the Jets with their constant pressure, with their constant forecheck, just kept wearing down St. Louis until they can get to that net, until they could create those chances, and then buried them when they did. So I like that takeaway from Rye Guy, who points out 20 block shots from the Blues, 18 from the Jets. A lot of ice packs going around both dressing rooms on this night.
Yep.
D-Labs on Twitch, and then I'll jump over to YouTube, also says the From Financial Faceoff, the cycle game. Spending all the time in the O-zone leads to more chances. And this was evident in that first period. Despite, I don't know if they had real quality looks in the first, it was just such a territorial dominance of a performance because of that cycle game once they retrieved the puck.
Yep.
And all that builds together, right? Like we talk about, you saw it in all three facets today. Me and Formally always go to the neutral zone because I do feel it is the tipping point for this system to really start generating how it wants to and making sure that they don't play on their heels and they're pushing things back. In the D zone, making those blocks, but also keeping St. Louis to the outside. And when there was a turnover or a chance to jump on the puck, the Jets were all over it and sending it north. Very little mistakes at the blue lines compared to that Utah game on this night. In the neutral zone, stepping up and stopping some of those stretch passes or jumping on St. Louis when there was a bobble and making them go back and play more defense. And then the forecheck was just absolutely relentless, which feeds into the cycle game, which kind of started breaking down St. Louis, and then the point shots started making St. Louis adjust and come out to the points, and then the Winnipeg Jets start attacking the middle. Just a flawless execution in all three zones.
Absolutely. Over on Facebook, Nelson Pacheco says, doing it without Ehlers, Velarde, and Pionk. Let's go. And Brad Lavers says,
absolutely.
Masterclass is an understatement. Hard to disagree.
Nice to have Brad and Nelson following along over on Facebook. Appreciate y'all and some great points there. Over on YouTube, we got some more From Financial Faceoffs. Formerly says From Financial has to be the save on Buchnevich in the third, 6-on-5, which comes right after that Mason Appleton post. And all I was thinking about, I turned to Jared, I was like, are we going to witness a Patrick Stepan moment here? God. And that Buchnevich Thomas line was pretty dangerous, or not dangerous, but they controlled the puck quite a bit. And a guy like that has a look like that on a bit of a breakdown. Hell, he gets over there. I like that. Keeps it 2-1. Keeps this game in regulation. Yep. And then the Lowry line after the timeout goes and gets to the empty netter. Ethan KPM says, the From Financial Faceoff, shots on net. Not around, not over, not beside. And even when they weren't generating quality looks in that first period, one thing they did do well was getting it to that net and forcing St. Louis to think about what's going on. We saw a couple times Hofer was a little bit unsure as that pressure kept coming. They definitely were getting shots through today, despite St. Louis still coming up with 20 blocks.
Yeah, they were keeping Hofer uncomfortable. You could tell he was having a tough time handling the puck. And then on the Iafallo goal, that's exactly what happens, right? Connor does the work to get it through there. Hofer doesn't hold on to it, and Iafallo buries it. It was, masterclass is an understatement.
Tico Napoli says his From Financial Faceoff was depth players like Barron, Tanev, and AI bumped up and all over this game. The Tanev move works on this night after having a real tough look last game. Yep. Morgan Barron, as we talked about earlier in the show, his development as a center since getting bumped over continues to be all over the game when that line's out there. And AI just continues to be steady Eddie, doing the things he needs to do, getting to that net. And, I mean, all of his goals got to be Johnny on the spot with that line at this point. It's been great to see.
Yeah, that goal from Barron was wonderful. It just smacks, was it Joseph, I think, just out of the way, lifts his stick up and just goes, no, I'm busy here. I'm scoring a goal. Great.
Cody Magnuson's From Financial Faceoff was the Tanev shift in the third with the 3 big blocks, got the boys buzzing again when the nerves were starting to creep in. And I want to give credit to the crowd who really jumped all over that to kind of give that emotional boost. It got loud in there after that shift. You could tell this market appreciates efforts like that, and Tanev having those blocks puts the crowd back into it, and the push continues from there.
Yep. Can't wait to see that happen in the playoffs with an all white out crowd.
Ethan KPN points out, and I believe this is the shots on net he's talking about. He could correct me here, but it came shortly after. Says when we are winning that stat, we are winning something like 90% of our games. Probably higher. The stat is like 38, 2, and 4. And I'm going to have to dive into that one, but that does really check a lot of boxes thinking about how the Winnipeg Jets play. A very good defensive team with great goaltending. If they can get more offensive looks than the other team, I'll take that all night. And for me, it was really nice to see them comfortably handle a playoff style matchup like this to such level. Like Ticono puts it the best. It was a Picasso. It was a Picasso. That's how we'll summarize it. A Picasso. That might be the show title.
Yep.
Because that's what tonight was. That was a work of art. Kyle Korsvert. I'm so bad with names. I'm sorry. From Financial Faceoff, Scheifele being a dog. Like you said, he's peaking at the right time. We need him like this if we want to go anywhere. And this has been, 4 or 5 games in a row. We've seen him come out of that quiet slump and really look like the Jets' best forward. And I thought, when he is such a physical presence that when he's engaged in a game, he makes a difference. When he's driving through checks, he makes a difference. When he's looking to create in the ozone and confident, he makes a difference. We're seeing Mark Scheifele elevating at the right time. And for this team's number one center, that's huge. That is huge. We've talked a lot about the center depth probably lacking. A lot of the contenders you're going to start meeting as we want to go deeper into this. Mark Scheifele playing at this level gives the Winnipeg Jets a 1C that you can start to believe can maybe go head-to-head. I'm not going to go full in, but he is peaking at the right time and playing at a level that the Winnipeg Jets need. Full stop.
Yep. I can't wait to see what he does on Thursday. It's got all the markings of a Mark Scheifele game, and like you said, he's got to be their best player if they're going to win a championship. You know, I was on the other side of that one. I still think I am, but I'll take Mark Scheifele just absolutely dominating. That'd be good.
And he's doing it right now. I really, really like where Mark Scheifele's game is right now. He would have put this out of reach of 3-1 when he drove off the bench off a change, and the puck was just a little too high. When he brought it down, it just took a little too much time. But you saw right when he got off from my angle in the rink, right when he got onto the ice for that change, he knew exactly where it was going, and he would have had a backdoor rebound goal there. He is locked in, which is big. Kyle Connor comes up with, I in the first 2 periods, there was a little bit of that soft Kyle Connor I don't love. And then in the third period, the dash and the flash comes out, and he's creating space for his line mates. It was a good showing there across the board. Gilbert Marion wants to give some credit to the third pairing. Fleury was aggressive in the O-zone. And anytime you could play Fleury and Stan together and you come away not really noticing them and it not costing the Jets, I think it's a good night for that group. Not a pair I love to see get paired up, and I'm having trouble thinking of moments that really stand out in a negative for them. So definitely a good good thing to bring up from Gilbert.
Yeah, seeing their names on the lineup card together definitely clenches some buttholes. You know what I mean? You go, oh no, what kind of night are we going to get tonight? But they did. They've really found a good way to limit the opportunities against. For Logan Stanley with the minutes that they find him at 5-on-5. So they found a formula right now that's working. And yeah, I can't think of anything that's too egregious that jumped out where I went, oh my God, here he goes again. And that's all we can really ask for right now from our big 6'7" boy.
Hey, let's go to the phone lines. We got a call. Let's dive right into it.
Hey caller, thanks
What's
for calling.
What's going on? My bad. How's it going? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. How you doing?
Perfect. I'm good. Mikey, I'm not sure if you're AI or not, but keep up the great work, pal. But in all seriousness, guys, I think after watching the last 3 seasons now, I think we're seeing a group of Jets players that are just getting a little more experienced and a little more seasoned every go around. I think if we talk back to 2 years ago, we had that second half collapse where we had to walk into the playoffs. Obviously, that went terribly. I think last year Bones really puts in that defensive system that works for us, and we push up towards a 110-point team like we were last year, and then we lose in the playoffs. But one thing that I found really encouraging from the guys this year is that anytime there's like a really big game that I feel like, hey, this is one that you really have to get up for, they have, and they normally like shit kicked the other teams in those games. I find like whether it's like another top team like a Dallas or an Edmonton or like the Colorado game at the start of the year, or I think now where it's like the Blues were rolling in on 12 straight. I think it's a really big sign of encouragement. And as I'm looking for things that, like, personally, I think, like, Colorado, Dallas, and Edmonton on a good day, I like their rosters better than Winnipeg. But as a Jets fan, I think that's one thing that I'm kind of looking at where it's like, okay, I think they're starting to understand what brand of hockey they have to play to win at a sustainable level in the playoffs. And, I mean, they're getting up for the big ones. So that's one thing I've been noticing this year.
So before I dive in, this is my guy, your average Jets fan, eh?
It is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I caught it. I got to meet my boy here tonight at the game, which was great to see. Thanks for reaching out. It was great to chat some puck during the intermission with you. And I gotta say, I like a lot of your takeaway here, where this team is definitely rising in the big games, and it's not even just that they're winning the big games. Like, this team in the past has had some great nights against quality teams, but it always seemed like it was like a bend, don't break type of game. And it's what now, 3, 4, 5 of the last big games on the schedule. The Winnipeg Jets didn't come in and just win those games. They came in and dictated them. And that is a big gap that we normally haven't seen in the past. I tend to agree with you on the idea that there is a couple rosters that I might rather than Winnipeg's, but they continue showing up and playing this system, playing really good defensive hockey. It's hard not to believe in this group with what they've continuously showed throughout this year.
Yeah, and I think that what they, like, keeping in mind, like, just from watching this game, you wouldn't have known that they were missing a top 4 defenseman and 2 top 6 wingers, right? One of which is Nick Ehlers, who's probably the most impactful winger on our roster. And, like, don't get me wrong, like, the losses to Utah and, like, other games where you're like, the Jets should probably win that one, or they frustrate all fans like they do myself. But when we're looking for, like, really, like, the big pillars where it's like, okay, are the Jets getting, like, when the Jets play the Dallas Stars, are the Dallas Stars kind of dictating the pace of the game? It's like they're not. The Jets are, like, they're not playing like that old Rick Bowness hockey where I felt like you're saying, it's like we're just bending and we're going to get like a 1 or 2 goal lead and then we're just going to kind of pack it in and we're going to pack the net, right? I feel like the Jets are, they're pushing back, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hey, love the call, love the takeaways, and I gotta say, I think you nailed this to a T tonight. Great to meet you tonight in-house. Glad you got to see such a great performance in-house, and it does feel like that this year, where down the stretch last year, I know I was part of the Doom Squad, as in Ehlers We Trust would call it in the chat. That was just looking at that team as a doomer team, and it felt like they were bending and not breaking, or they would break, and you'd see what that result would look like. This team has not had that this year. This team goes out against quality opponent after quality opponent and gets to their system and sticks to it.
I love it. All right, keep up the great work, guys. Mikey, I'm not sure if you're real or not, but you're awesome, man.
You'll have to come out to Dallas on Thursday to find out, my friend.
I'll have to. If let's see if you're wearing a marshmallow head, though, eh?
I might be doing the Daft Punk thing. We're going to see about it. I'm working on it.
Okay, take care, boys. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Take care. What are you thinking, Mikey? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's been something we noticed really early on. They're getting up for these big moments. This feels different than past years where, you know, the Jets would ride on some high PDO, and you kind of look at their opponents and go, yeah, they got some wins stacked up, but are they playing hockey that's going to produce wins come playoff time? And a lot of the times it felt like no. And because of that, I think, you know, you kind of get labeled a doom and gloom, you know, type of person, but it never felt like it was sustainable. Whereas this year, man, this style, this system, this feels sustainable. And we've seen it now against really good teams, missing key guys, and the tank just kind of keeps on rolling. So, man, this is, yeah, I completely agree with your average Jets fan. This feels different.
It's starting to. It's starting to. And I know I tend to hedge, but even I coming out of this one is just like, after watching that and the Vegas one and 2 of their last 3, how do you not get excited about the potential with them playing this brand of hockey in front of Connor Hellebuck with the defense intact? And we know how tight playoff games feel and get. I see Gilbert is giving Cody a good point. Cody, Jets seem more focused. Good sign for the playoffs. So let's go to Cody's point, which was, even last year, how many times did Bones say post-game, we got away from Jets hockey? Don't think Arnie has said it once this year. And there's only one time that stands out to me, and I want to say it was in January, where Arnie really left the rink pretty disgusted. I can't remember what his comment was post-game, but the team responded really well to it, which, again, I think is a sign of this team showing that internal growth, showing that, I guess, understanding of what it takes to be a real threat. And you are seeing a lot of those signs, from the mentality to the press conferences to bouncing back from a game in Utah that was really hard to watch and not one you really expect from this team through 40. And just throwing this Picasso out there on the Monday night on Amazon at home, seeing franchise records, or Hellebuck tying his franchise record with 44 wins. He's going to pass that. Mark Scheifele, with his, I believe, franchise record, or not franchise record, his individual record, 84th point in a season. I got to say, one of my 10 hot takes going into the season was Mark Scheifele was going to have his 3rd straight season under a point a game. Mark Scheifele, thank you for making me look like an absolute jackass on that one. He continues to elevate his game down this stretch here. And just the vibes feel way too good right now. The vibes feel, I'm not ready for them to crash. I don't feel it like they're going to crash. I don't want to see it. Let's keep this rolling. Let's get through the first round this year, because this team has deserved their place in the standings. They've earned it from game 1 on to now game 78, which is just an insane accomplishment with the ups and downs of an NHL season. And this team and this market, everyone tuned into this show, everyone I get to interact with, whether they hate me or love me on social media, deserves a run out of Winnipeg. And this team's giving us every reason to believe that they can do it.
Yeah, the 2 of the reasons that I think this does feel a little bit different, one is, by the time we get to the end of the season, how many guys are we going to have having career seasons, right? 6 to 9, a couple of them having all-time great seasons in terms of, the NHL. You're having so many of those guys have that happen right now. You need to strike while that iron is hot, right? It's why it kind of feels different, and kind of mirroring what we were talking about just there a second ago. It was Cody. We haven't got a lot of we got away from Jets hockey. We also haven't had a lot of we liked our game when it was clearly a dog shit game. So we've gotten away from having to pretend like we're not doing well when we're not. And for the most part, those games don't even really happen anymore. So it feels different, man.
On that, a couple things here. Turd's all over it, man. Turd's got a great memory. He's always got the stuff we're looking for. Says that was after the Utah game, Nick, and they went on that 11-game heater after that. That is when the one time Arniel left a game angry, and the team responded by rattling off 11 straight wins, which is an incredible response, and I think a sign of maturity. Like, when you think about the whole Bones experience, right? That first year leaves with him just eviscerating the team at the end of the playoff run.
Yep.
And then you saw last year where they were more consistent deeper into the year, and then it was kind of going off the rails towards the end of the year, and then they rattled off the 8 wins, and then the playoffs went the way the playoffs did. This has been kind of a culmination of Bones year 1 was like a 50-50 year. The first half was great, and it fell apart. Last year was like 75%, so to speak. Through 78 games, it feels like 100%. Like, this team continues to bounce back well. They continue to show up consistently, and now they're dictating games in some of the biggest matchups heading into the playoffs. Man. And
As a-
I like this take from Ethan KPM, who's underselling his calls a little bit here. There was one night I think he was a little drunk on the calls, and I was having trouble understanding some of the points. But Ethan always has some quality takes in the chat and on his calls, so don't undersell yourself, bud. Says Scheifele's step could be the railroad tied to this team's overall step, and it's where I think Rat River Rebel really nailed the Scheifele needs to be at a con level for this team to go deep, because I do think Mark Scheifele playing at this level elevates this team's ceiling to a conversation where we can get deeper. So I really like this take from Ethan KPM.
Yep, absolutely. Over on Twitch, HL Living Loco, 2 messages, one a little late, but hell yeah, lads. So welcome in, Harrison. And they say, Harrison says, the recent play, despite the losses to LA and Utah, has had me way more confident in this team. Even the road bumps haven't worried me. And it's true. They keep doing the right things, right? We talked about it individually with Cole Perfetti earlier in the year when the points weren't coming, but he was doing the right things on the ice. The whole team has kind of taken that mentality, right? That is what this group does. They've just kind of stuck to their game. They're putting their system in, and when it works, they can hang with anybody.
And hey, this is what I love about our audience. The landing strip, we get the freedom to do things like this. And as much as I'm bugging Ethan about a potential drunk call, Zooch40 says, I love the drunken takes. Where else but the landing strip can you get that? And that's the beauty of this show, man. The beauty of doing this and getting to talk and see a lot of the same names and some new ones every show now. The growth over the last month that we've had and kind of seen behind the scenes, we love you guys for doing this. Clearly, you're doing your part. You're sharing this show. And the more people we get in here and the more takes we get to discuss makes this a special place to be after games. I really enjoy this. And this might have been, actually, Ethan corrects me, and this might have been, I actually meant the bad audio broken call, but I will keep it up. And it was the broken call night where I might have thought he was drunk, but the call might have just got broken up. Because that's the same call I'm kind of talking about here. And Ethan's got a bottle of Delaney down tonight, so Ethan's feeling good.
He's
Hey,
feeling
there we
good.
go. That's a Monday night. That's a Monday night for our crowd.
Back over on Twitch, Harrison says, Scheifele spent a few years looking like he didn't give a shit. He's been a completely different guy the last couple years. Big props to the staff for getting the buy-in back. And who do you give the credit to for the resurgence of Mark Scheifele? Is it Grandpa Bones? Is it Scotty Arn? Is it just that we've removed the growth of Blake Wheeler from Mark Scheifele? What do you guys think is what's the resurgence for Mark Scheifele? Where do you tie it to?
I actually really do tie it to Scott Arniel. Talking to some people that have played for Scott Arniel, he's a very respected guy to the players that have dealt with him more recently. And I know when he got hired, there was a lot of people within the Jets that were really excited about it. And I do think there's a bit of a symbiotic relationship there with Arniel and Scheifele potentially trusting Arnie more than maybe a Paul Maurice and some of the Bones stuff. I think there was a little bit more there between Bones and Scheif than has been let on. And I do think there's something special to, and I don't know how to quantify it, obviously, but Mark Scheifele, the first number 1 pick, he used to play for Dale Hawerchuk and clearly admires him, wants to chase down all of his records. And the Arniel tie with how close Arniel and Hawerchuk were, I imagine I do give Scott Arniel a lot of credit with the Scheifele stuff. I really do.
There you go.
Our boy Mo says Scheif has always been great, and I'd say he's been great, but his downsides and when he gets pouty, a really frustrating player. But this is a guy that's consistently been a top 20 center in the NHL. I mean, that's a damn good hockey player, big picture.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. And like you said, we've always known that there's more to Scheifele, right? There's always a little bit more consistency that that he has. And we saw a glimpse of that in that 2017 season when he was just absolutely on fire. And we're starting to see maybe a little bit of that come back around.
Turd likes to go this place. And I do think this is an interesting point, too, in this, actually, because I imagine at some point in Mark Scheifele's career, he was hoping to be the captain here. And I think the org did the right thing going with Adam Lowry ahead of him. Turd Ferguson says, Adam Lowry should get some credit for the 55 turnaround. He was exactly the captain we needed, especially post-Blake Wheeler mess. So I like going to the captain here, who, again, I thought was an animal in this game. Ethan also says Shifley need to be relieved of the duty after the Wheeler era, which is definitely fair. Lucas Trapped asks, are we going to do a drinking game for the live show? And there might be some beverages going around. Nick might be even pretty loose on the post game show on Thursday. We'll see what the Thirsty Thursday and the Dallas game brings. No promises here. I'm trying to behave, but in an excited community and crowd like that, might let loose a little bit.
So Choice is over on Twitch. Yeah, go ahead.
You got it. You got it.
He goes, Chevy giving him, so Shifley, that contract all seemed to start the change. After that, he no longer had to worry about putting up numbers to earn a contract. How do you feel about that, having the that weight off his shoulder? Do you feel like that relaxed him?
I'm not sure because the 2 point per game, under point per game years came after the deal. I'm not sure if I quite go there with it.
And then Harrison also on Twitch. Shife's been so frustrating because we know he can be a remarkable game breaker. And that's true. That's the only reason we've had the frustration with Shifley is we know that consistency can be there. And when he's on, man, is he good.
And I'll say this, and I'm glad Gilbert pointed this out. 800 points, he's having a great career, which is absolutely correct. I mean, over the life of that contract, he's likely going to be the first 1,000-point Jet. Did Wheeler do it in Winnipeg?
No, he did not.
Yeah, so Mark Shifley is going to have some great traits on his resume, pending he stays healthy, knock on wood here.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see. You could tell, like when a camera shows someone on the bench showing like an ovation and stuff, some guys just don't pay any attention. Some guys are just like, let's get on with the game. They did a congrats Mark Shifley little thing for his 800th point, and you could tell the crowd really got hyped about it, and you could see like it really did mean something to him too. So that was a cool little moment in house today that I wanted to bring up here.
Yeah, it means something to Mark Shifley. You can tell. Being the first pick, having that kind of legacy, playing for Howard Chuck before, you can tell these things mean a lot to him. It matters to him. Legacy matters to him. And this is a great time for him to really etch that legacy into Winnipeg history.
Rye Guy points out, and someone was asking on YouTube earlier, and I didn't know the answer, so I didn't go there. But it was the 6th straight sellout, by the way. So the market's gearing up for a race, and it had that vibe today. This market knows when there's a big game being played, and they show out. It was like I think it was 0.6 decibels away from the record loudness in house tonight. Oh, it was nuts in there, which is great to see. Rye Guy also points out, do you think they'll do something like this? It'd be interesting. And we just saw an on-ice celebration, though I don't think they would do this for this level of thing. Rye Guy says, I expect us to stop the game and do a full-on ceremony when he passes Dale for the all-time goals. Do you foresee a ceremony like that happening in-game, or are we going to get a nice Hellebuck-style pre-game ceremony, the home game after that, which is how I envision that scenario?
Yeah, it'll be the game after for sure. They'll have something queued up and ready for the scoreboard, and they'll have something quick, and they'll cut to them for a wave kind of thing. But I don't think they'll do a full on. It'd be I'd be surprised.
And D-Labs points out kind of what you were talking about. 55 loves his standing in this city and team. He appreciates a lot, and I do think he wears that very out there. That you could see that. Zooch40 also says, thanks again, Vegas winning with no-name goalies, getting us Vezina Bucks signed under $9 million in a market no one wants to play in. Again, a great timing aspect there where we get to continue watching Hellebuck's greatness, largely because of it.
Yep, absolutely.
HH Living Loco says, did y'all chat about the idea of keeping an IFL or a Perfetti with 81 and 55? Those two combos had me unbelievably hot and bothered. And we did, so I'm going to urge you to go back. I want to say it was just before the From Financial Face-Off at the halfway point where we talked about the idea of keeping IFL there. I like Perfetti there too, but IFL keeps giving you what you're looking for. And my big takeaway and a couple in the chats was we're now longing for a Lowry, Ehlers, Velarde trio. We'll see where that goes. Formerly also points out it means something to the fans as well. He is playing his best game in this moment. And if we could see a 17-18 style playoff run out of Mark Shifley, this market will definitely be appreciating that.
Yep, absolutely. It's Like, who said it over here in the chat? Sorry, I can't. I lost it. Who said it? But it's something very rare, right? To have a statue built of you for a sports, for a sports franchise in a city. Shifley's seen that it's been done for Howard Chuck. He sees what Dale Howard Chuck means to the city of Winnipeg for multiple generations of of kids and adults who watched him play and heard stories about it and everything else. So yeah, it means a lot, and man, it's going to be interesting if he can go out there and have a playoff run like he did in that 2017 year.
I got a hot take here.
Hit me.
That might not be popular. I think Hellebuck should get a statue. I'm not quite there with Mark Scheifele, and I know he's going to have all the records. When it comes to statues for me, I have such a high pedestal. Like, I need like an all-world level talent, and that's my hold up there. I could retire his number.
Yep, which they will.
For me, he doesn't meet statue. He just might be unpopular. I look at Hellebuck as the only worthy statue outside of Ducky, I gotta say.
Now, if Scheifele goes on, say the Jets. Now, humor my my fantasy for a moment here. Say the Jets go on and they win 2 Stanley Cups in the next 4 years, with Mark Scheifele being a big piece on both of those 2 wins. Is that big enough for with all of the individual records that he's going to have, games played, points, goals, all that shit? Does that get you there? 2 out of 4. What do you say?
And Ethan KPN says too, what if we win 3 cups?
God, Ethan, you're right there with me, my guy. I love it.
Well, if they win a cup, it changes the conversation entirely for me. But let's get there. Say this. Let me be the wet blanket guy, as you put it here.
That's usually me.
Can we get? Yes. Before we talk about a statue and a cup, can we get through this year's first round first? Like,
no.
Let's roll the train back just a tad here tonight.
So I shouldn't be blocking up traffic right now at Portage and Maine. I'll head home. Shit. All right. Sorry, guys. My bad.
I love the vibes. I love where everyone's excitement is right now. Let's reel it in just a tad here. Let's do something in the playoffs first. But if they win a cup, re-ask me that conversation, and we might have a different answer here. I just look like, and Gilbert kind of says it here too. I agree. It's okay. Scheifele probably not a Hall of Famer. Helly definitely. And that's where like the bar comes for me, is just when you're looking at heroizing someone with the statue, like I need NHL elite, not just Winnipeg elite kind of thing.
All right, there you go.
And our boy Mo says, win 2 cups in the next 4 and the whole team gets statues. And hey, you win 2 of the next 4, put a statue of Mason Appleton right at the entry point and I'm fine. Like, get Logan Stanley the best real estate downtown. I don't care. Win 2 cups. I'll die a happy man. All good.
Appleton's statue can be of him missing the goal today.
Yeah.
Overskating a net. Oh shit.
Tico Napoli says, let's win the division first. Let's lock that in first, then we'll start talking about the next tiers. And Dante Violet says, Mikey's been getting into the good drugs, and he might be getting them from Ticona. He might be. Danica Smith says, if Scheifele gets 1,000 points and is a big reason for a ring, then yes. And hey, you add a ring to this, it changes my whole calculus. Let's get there first. Let's get Ethan KPN says Logan Stanley statue at the gates of the Brady landfill. Oh, I love it. This is the energy we want. And Zooch 40 makes a good comp that nobody's gonna like, and he's 100% right as he's in the whole tame it down aspect. Says, LOL, we are Leafs fans right now. That is the vibes right now.
Hey, if we do it for 50 years, then we'll be Leafs fans. We still got some time.
Rye Guy also says, I was chanting, we want the cup as I was leaving the CLC after game 1. Which fair. Hey, fair. That's the bar.
If anything,
40.
Rye Guy says, win 2 cups and I'm getting a Logan Stanley tramp stamp. So there you go. That's a real fan right there, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm screenshotting that, and we're holding Rye Guy to it. We're holding Rye Guy to it. Zooch 40, we're saving the double sacks for winning the division. We're gonna keep that in the holster. I like the vibes. We're gonna keep that one in the holster here. Let's go to the 3 stars. We've been having a blast with all you. Appreciate you being here. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with some friends. If you had some fun tonight, I'm sure your friends that want to talk Jets would have some fun with this listen. Let us know. But let's go to the 3 stars.
Right on.
Who are you going with on
Just
an
before I
like
start, D-Labs 25. Imagine how much bigger Logan Stanley's statue would have to be because he's 6'7". Shit, you're right. That'd have to be proportional. Fuck.
A monster. Just a monster statue somewhere at the Brady landfill.
All right. So for my 3 stars tonight, number 3, Adam Lowry. I thought it was a bounce back game from Lowry in that line overall. They were involved. Lowry gets that empty netter after trying to give a goal to Appleton, who just refuses to score. My second star is kind of funny because we barely spoke about this guy tonight, but I thought he was really good for all night, and that's Josh Morrissey. That's your number 1 defenseman, your minute munching guy, taking those hard minutes against the opposition's top team all goddamn night and doing it with a great job. So we didn't really talk too much about Josh Morrissey, but man, I thought he was fantastic. So I've got him at number 2. And number 1, I don't give him enough credit, I think. So I've got to go to Mark Scheifele tonight. I thought it was a really good game from Scheifele offensively. He's really coming into form, and you guys are starting to wear me down on this Mark Scheifele needs to be the Jets' best player thing. So I'm not there yet, but man, you're wearing me down on it. I like it. So Mark Scheifele, number 1 tonight.
Ooh, Ethan KPM goes Josh Morrissey statue. I got a debate here. I want to know what the chat thinks before I get into my 3 stars, because he just went somewhere and the other guy's name was brought up earlier. Jets 2.0. Are you taking Josh Morrissey or Dustin Byfuglien? I want to hear.
Oh, that's
And the fact that Morrissey's games got into this level to even make this a conversation is just phenomenal on his behalf.
So that's, and no disrespect to Josh Morrissey and to what he's done up to this point, but it's still Dustin Byfuglien. Unless, again, it's for Morrissey, there's still more to come. And if that piece that is coming is a championship of some kind and some long playoff runs, the story can change. But right now, it's still Dustin Byfuglien. There's never been a player in Winnipeg like Byfuglien. There's been very few players in the National Hockey League at all like Dustin Byfuglien. What he did was so different, so special, and when he was on, man, was he just incredible to watch. So I love Josh Morrissey. I love what he's doing, especially this year. But for me, it's still Dustin Byfuglien. It's still Big Buff.
It's such a fascinating conversation. I like how Gilbert said this. Actually, I like Morrissey a lot. I love Buff. And it still irks me as I see Adam Douglas put up the big 3-3 in the chat. It still irks me. And it's something so stupid to be irrationally mad about. It absolutely irks me that they let David Rittich wear number 33. It bothers me. It really does, man.
Disrespectful.
It's a hard combo. Dustin Byfuglien was just such an enigma. He was so different. So he did so many things that are just eye-popping and everything like that. But Josh Morrissey now has been a top 5 to 7 D-man in the entire league for what, 2, maybe 3 seasons?
Yeah, 2, 3.
It's becoming a conversation. It's becoming a real conversation. Now, Josh Morrissey will not have the Dustin Byfuglien personality effect that gets amplified with Dustin Byfuglien. Like, that guy was a Winnipeg Jet, which is just so much fun. But top end talent wise, Josh Morrissey's right there, man. His game and where he's gone to, it's a hard one for me. Buff is probably my favorite player that we've seen come through. He was just special and across the board as far as the personality, the different type of player, all of that.
If you could only
Josh
have
Morrissey's development, man.
if you could only have one of them right now for the playoff run that's just about to start, if you could swap Dustin Byfuglien in his prime for Josh Morrissey right now, would you do it?
Jesus.
Oh, and there's thought. Look,
Jesus.
there's thought in this one, right? There's a pause.
At least I get to play
What do you
Dustin
think,
Byfuglien
Chad?
besides Sandberg.
Yeah. Would you take Buff over Josh Morrissey? What do you guys think?
I'm not answering. I'm not answering.
Pleading
I
the
got no
fifth.
answer. Let's go to my 3 stars. I'm pussing out on this one. My 3 stars on this one. I'm going to do something very rare. Might never come back out. I can't even name 3 individual Jets. The Winnipeg Jets team, top to bottom, including the coaching staff, is going to all share the number 1 star tonight. Just the performance we just witnessed top down from this team from minute 1 on. The Picasso, we're calling it the Picasso. I don't want to reward anyone. I want to reward the entire team tonight. The Winnipeg Jets organization shares the 3 stars. I'm going out that way tonight. That's
Hell
how
yeah.
impressed I was with this hockey game.
Love that.
But hey, as usual, I just had a blast. I had as much fun doing the show tonight with all of you. The laughs, the banter, the conversation. Be a friend, tell a friend, and we'll be back Thursday as we watch live with the watch party at Dal's Restaurant. Looking forward to seeing you there if you've reached out. Looking forward to being out in the community and watching a big game with a bunch of Jets fans. And we'll be back Thursday.
Right on. Remember, the landing strip for your Winnipeg Jets postgame. Night, everybody.